lots of technical
Relearning.
difficulties and lots of fun bits and pieces. So, Simon, would you like? I'm going to send
Hi.
you a link to the
Yes.
live stream on Twitter, or do you want the YouTube one?
Well, change of plans. We have relearned how to do podcasting, and I had said on Twitter that we're going on these places, but we're not anymore. So I'll just update my large audience. So if you send me a link, or you did on Slack. Hi everyone, welcome to live podcasting.
We remember how this works. We've only done this like for multiple years or whatever. Uh,
It
yeah,
feels multiple years. Okay, so it's your Twitter thing. Okay.
yeah. And then it's also going out on YouTube, so I can send you that.
Okay, so let me find. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
That's okay.
Yes,
Everyone's really just pretending. No one really knows what they're doing at all.
true. Okay, I found the tweet. I'm gonna write change of plans, change, and then I promise I will make eye contact and talk contact.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyone that's joined, like, just give us a second. I know it's silly to go to start the thing and then be like, "Can you guys just hold on a sec?" But what we're trying to do is work out all of the links and things we need to share places because everything's different. Because it's always fun to tweak things and break everything that used to work. But if you are
It's a
joining us
polite
live,
way.
let us know either a comment on the tweet or a comment on YouTube. Let us know where you're joining us from and what's up.
And what time it is.
What time is it where you are?
So what really happened, if we're honest, is I've missed a few weeks at the podcast, and now John has taken over and swept, rug pulled me away from Ecamm Live, and he's taking over the art direction and the controls.
You don't turn up and just I'll go wild with it. Like you need to be here to like hold those reins tight so I don't just redo everything. To be fair, the one time I didn't turn up, you replaced me with Kenzie Dodds. So
Eight
look,
minutes. Yes.
Kenzie
It's only
Myers.
fair, yes, only fair.
It's only fair that I pull the rug out from under you if you don't turn up.
Yeah. So, question, logistical question. If people have comments, like since we have thousands of viewers live, is there a place where I can see the questions and discuss?
There's a chat section on Riverside. So yeah, for anyone watching, we're using Riverside for the first time in a while. We used to use Riverside and we had some issues, and then we're now trying it again. And there's a chat here, but I don't know if you commented on the tweet, I don't think it would show up there. So I
Yes,
think
it's okay. We'll
we'll
pretend,
work it out.
Yeah.
Should we just jump into the episode?
I thought we were in the episode.
We are not in the episode, but I'm going to put us in the episode. You ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to the Nav Bar. Another week. Thank you for joining me. Simon is back. We've had a little bit of time off. Simon, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. I am relearning to use the internet. It's been a few weeks since I missed the podcast. I'm very glad to be back. Summer is supposed to be here, but it's actually very cold today, which is why
Yeah.
I'm sporting a nice big red hoodie for the.
Yeah, I'm going the hoodie as well. We had a couple of days of like quite warm weather, and then it just all disappeared again and got freezing.
Well, that's what spring and autumn in Australia is really. It can go full winter or full summer or in between, and it's like a whatever lottery, spin the wheel and see what happens. So you can literally have like 7, 8 degrees really cold, and the next day 31 and bushfires, and like it is crazy.
It's wild.
Today is one of the cold ones.
Actually, I have a story for you because you haven't been here for so long. A
I
couple
know.
of weeks ago, I, me and my family attempted to go on a snow trip, and so we went to Mount Buller, which is like pretty close to where we live. It's sort of like it's probably the closest reasonable snow and reasonable height mountain where
Yeah.
you can do proper snowboarding, and they've got proper ski lifts and stuff. And yeah, we went for multiple days. We took my parents so they could look after the kids, so me and my wife could go snowboarding, and it was just like the worst possible
Oh,
conditions. Like the whole winter was just like non-existent. It was like a terrible, terrible season. But the day we were there, they actually decided to like close the mountain the next day because it was just like usually they extend
oh.
the season out for another like couple of months, and you know
They're like, we gotta cut it out.
we're
It's
done.
bad.
We're done here. And oh man, I wish I had some photos to show. It's just like there's like this the only run that was open was the like first beginner run. And because everyone like wants to get a little bit of the snow before it's gone, it was just packed with like complete beginners. So me and
Hmm.
my wife have done quite a bit of snowboarding. Like we're probably not at your level. We're not like going and doing wild tricks in the park, but
We're
very
trying to
competent.
move
Like,
fairly
yeah,
fast. Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like the whole thing was just like trying to avoid the beginners falling down in front of you and then trying to avoid the ones that are like rocketing down out of control behind you. And it was a wild, wild experience. But either side, so it's just this one run, which is not very long, with one
Yeah.
chairlift. And then either side of the very narrow amount of man made snow that they were trying to like maintain on the mountain, it's just like grass and dirt field, like no snow on the rest of the mountain whatsoever. Um, so they ended up closing after a couple of after the next day, and then like the following weekend there was just this crazy like ice blast that we're currently dealing with, and there were all these like screenshots of the snow cams, and it's just like the entire mountain is covered in snow.
Fresh powder. Yeah.
And that's Australia.
You painting the dream right there, the dream ski experience. I bet
Yeah.
it wasn't cheap too.
No, that's the thing. They hadn't reduced the price at all. So we paid insane amounts of money to go for like, yeah, one day of terrible, terrible snow conditions. But it reminded us. So we haven't been to the snow since just after our first little one was born. So
Yeah.
she's 5 now. So we haven't been to the snow for 5 years. And so it was a nice reminder of like, yeah, we need to get back there. We need to do an international trip somewhere with proper snow, take the kids, get them in a lesson, and yeah, do this as a family because it's way too much fun.
Yeah. So that's the I got really lucky with Australia. I only skied 7 or 8 times in 10 years, and every single time was actually really good.
Nice.
Like to the level, like I'm Swiss and I grew up in the Alps, and everyone said, "Dude, do not bother going skiing in Australia. It's gonna ruin. Like it's not good." And I've actually had really good conditions every single time. But
Nice.
I've heard a lot of stories like yours, and it's quite common for Australians to recommend to just go to New Zealand or Japan or Switzerland. What it turns out, Switzerland is maybe a bit far, but a New Zealand trip might be cheaper, even if you had the flights and stuff, because skiing in Australia is very, very expensive because the season's pretty short.
Yeah.
And yeah, the quality typically is a bit better if you go outside of Australia. Not
Yeah.
always, but
And this is why I said rather than saying we should go next year as a family, I was saying we should go somewhere else international and like
yeah.
do some proper snowboarding. Because oh man, when I was in Japan, it was just the greatest snow I've ever experienced. Like I've snowboarded Australia, New Zealand, Canada, a bit of no, we didn't go in the US, Canada and Japan. And Japan snow was just incredible. Like it was just snowing the whole time. We were there for like 7 days, and it was just constantly snowing. So it was just constantly like fresh, powdery tracks everywhere. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
well, I've never been. It's definitely in my bucket list, and now that I live in Australia, it's probably easier than from
Yeah, true.
Switzerland. But I constantly hear the same thing, like the it snows all the time, and it's so dry that it never
Mm.
gets heavy or you don't
Yeah,
get bogged down. It's just the
you don't get
fluffy.
wet. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
like melt on you, so you don't end up wet because it's so dry. It just stays snow. It's
and
amazing.
yeah, I didn't get to experience this, but when I was in Park City with Ken Sidon and friends, the Salt Lake City, the actual salt lakes dry up all the salt dries up all the atmosphere, and so they claim, I don't know if it's true, but it sounds true that they have the driest snow, powder snow on Earth. And so Kent was saying like I didn't get to experience that because it was end of the season and it was like spring snow that melted and hardened about 20 times, but it still was great. But apparently when it's powdery, it's like super fluffy, and that's almost silence when you do turn. You just hear a little.
Mm, mm.
I
Ah,
want this. I need this.
we should do a live nav bar. We should get the corporation that is behind the nav bar to sponsor us to go on a snowboarding trip to do a live episode of the nav bar.
What corporation?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Our personal bank accounts.
I forgot his name, but there was a guy suggesting we do a live Navbar episode in the Blue Mountains last year when we were live, and the comments were like, "Oh, you should do it on the chairlifts," and that's such a good idea. I want
Yeah.
to do this one day with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's much more achievable somewhere in the Blue Mountains. But no, we should. Yeah, we should do a. We should the next epic web thing. We should co-MC and do lots of snowboarding and lots of live MCing. But for anyone who isn't into the snow and things, we should probably cover something else. And that something else is this Laracon basketball game. We're not going into tech. We're just jumping from hobby to hobby. But man, for anyone that hasn't been watching, Laracon happened in the US and all of the cool people went, and there was this amazing basketball game between, was it like the Laravel people and like kind of more the JavaScripty people?
Well, one of the team is the Terminal Coffee team.
That's right. Yeah,
Uh,
of course.
So there's overlap. For example, David Hill, I think he's like the new lead design person at Laravel, and he works at the Terminal Coffee. So there was kind of some like that was the I think the overall overarching idea is like, hey, Laracon people, and then Terminal Coffee who challenged them initially. I think that was their idea, and then there were people from kind of crossed over from both camps, and then filling in the roster like you can. Turns into like a little celebrity all-star.
Yeah, with
So
like Wes and Scott like being the commentators for the entire thing. And
yeah. So that's the one thing. I didn't catch it live because 3 in the morning. In my head, Wes and Scott were also flying to Dallas and being literally on the sides on the scorer's table with the microphone, like broadcasting but they were actually doing it remotely. So it was kind of like a live syntax stream. But yeah, if you know anything about me, web development and basketball, it's like there's two circles in my life, and this is like the intersection, or where my both ears are like, holy, I want to be part of this. And so I had I always have fear of missing out, FOMO, when there's good conferences, but this basketball game especially, even I would have loved to see the conference because there's amazing talks, but this basketball game, I was like, if I don't have 2 kids and I don't live 20,000 kilometers of everything else, I would have bought a ticket and got there and like forced my way into the game for sure.
yeah, I think we definitely need to do one of these for either Laracon AU or any tech conference. It needs to be.
I have been planting seeds and talking to people. I would love to be part of this. And I'm gonna, if that happens, I'm gonna call it on camera right now. I'm taking my son. If you've seen my son play on Twitter, I've posted some videos. He's not better than me, but he's the gap is closing very quickly. And that would add even a layer of amazing for me to play basketball against tech nerds and have my son on the team. That would be like so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do a talk with me and get him on stage. He would love that.
Yeah, that would be sick.
For a couple of days.
When is Laracon AU?
Good question. It's the first weekend or second weekend of November, so 7, 8, 9, around there. So
Okay.
in about 6, 7 weeks.
Okay, so we just have to get all of those cool people to make the trip to Australia as well.
Well, a decent amount of the people who were playing basketball in the Laravel team are actually flying. Like the speaker lineup is pretty stacked with some of the Laravel OGs. So yeah, there's a good baseline. I'm wearing a ThinkMill shirt. Everyone at ThinkMill is 6'4" or higher. Not me, but the majority of the team, and my first observation when I walked in the office in 2019 when I started with them, I was like, damn, we need a basketball team. Like everyone's towering. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Have they
None
got
of
a basketball team?
no,
Has there been any? Okay, it was
none
this
of them
fun.
are interested, I think.
Right. There was this very cool thing at one of the companies I used to work at here in Melbourne that was they had like a Battle of the Bands. Do you know what Battle of the Bands is? It's like a high school thing that that high school bands do
Yeah.
where they're all like competing to be like the best band in
Yeah.
whatever place. They created this agile Battle of the Bands thing, which was all the like agile focused
From Masters.
tech companies that were all in this like kind of tech hub in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Would all like all these musicians that were there would like compete together, and it was just this really nice thing where there was like this community of all these different
Oh
uh,
yeah.
tech companies that all worked in this particular space that all happened to also be interested in music, and they like made a big deal about it. They'd like hire a venue and they'd have prizes and stuff, and
Yeah,
yeah,
this
it
is
was very
great.
fun.
The world of tech needs much more of that because, well, I like the example with music because there's a whole lot of devs who are also musicians and started by doing a website for their bands. Like the
Totally,
overlap between musicians and developers is
it all starts
really,
at MySpace.
yeah. Well, uh, and yeah, so that, but there's so like basketball is another one. You could do so many of these like intersection of two fairly different worlds, and suddenly people bond together with like this. Like I didn't play that game, and I felt like I belonged in there. I was in the conversations, and everyone was like tweeting, like mentioning me, guys, you should get Simon Sweets on your team, because I post a lot of basketball videos, and I was like, dude, I want to be there.
Yeah, it would have
Um,
been
while we're on the basketball, before I can't talk about basketball, if you followed on Twitter, I am in my peak season right now. You can't tell because I have a hoodie, but I'm actually pretty fit and possibly the fittest of my life at 43.
wow.
I'm playing in the local, not the local, the regional team that travels around the north coast of New South Wales and plays other teams. So it's a men's senior team. So all the quality players do something that's called reps, representative basketball, and there's under 12s, 14, 16, 18s, and then youth league. And then I think youth league stops at 23, and then after 23 there isn't much, like either you're a star and you go to Melbourne or to the US and you continue your journey, or you take part of this men's senior comp, which is only from August to November, December. So it's now like the, and last year I by accident got invited because they were missing a player, and I kind of, when you get a job without doing the interview, that's what happened. Like they were like, oh, the season starts, I heard you can shoot threes, do you want to join the team? And I joined. But this year I tried out again, and this time there was like 30 people that play really, really well. And I made the assumption, I'm 43. I was like, I'm not making the team, but I'll try out and whatever. And I did make the team actually.
Awesome.
Now, was it a diversity token or like, oh, he was here last year, he's a nice guy, let's get him on the team? I don't care. I'm on the team, and I don't see many minutes in games, but it's exceptionally good at pushing at challenging myself, because the practice every Tuesday we train for 2 hours, and we are talking 18 to 23-year-olds, peak performing, high performing athletes that are really tall and dunk and just block every shot, and I managed to keep up with them, and I think they first saw me as, why is this guy on the team? And then they're like, oh, hey, he's, when they know my age and how hard I go, the respect kind of went up.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm very obsessed with being fit and watching what I eat and what I sleep and icing my joints, because it's very heavy on the body. So the earlier this week, I thought I was going to quit because I was falling apart. And then I did ice treatment and good stretching, and I trained really well on Tuesday, and I'm like, I'm young again.
That's awesome. Did you do like a full like ice plunge thing or just like ice cubes in your home bath?
Even more low key, I took the dog water bowl and I put little plastic ice packs that we put in the kids' skis for lunches, and I
Yeah.
put it in cold water. and I put my foot in it, so it's like it's like a cold plunge, but just for my ankle, I guess.
Right.
Uh, but that made it works so well, especially if it's weird, but if you follow it with heat, like either dunk it in hot water or like anything that's hot and then cold again, you do like cycles, and it fixes stuff. Like it's pretty impressive. It
Hmm.
makes me want to consider the whole cold plunge, because when I wake up in the morning after these trainings, it's not just my ankle, it's the whole body is like train crash, sort of like what happened.
Well,
Yeah.
good job staying so fit, and yeah, that's awesome. I have retired my basketball career after an injury that I had, which I don't like anymore. I feel like I should unretire. Um, but yeah,
Well,
I
my,
was
my sick pick might help you then.
okay. Awesome.
Keep it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
But yes, I was playing basketball. I had only played for like half a season. My first season playing ever. I never played as a kid. Got super
Yeah.
into it as an adult. And so I was like absolutely loving it, and was like fit enough to run back and forth and things. But I went to block a shot, and I did block the shot, but I also came down sideways on my ankle and broke my heel, which
Mm.
was very, very painful and took like 8 weeks to get to the point where I could like walk again. And like having young kids at the time when you can't walk and do things is just
Yeah.
so hard. So I decided at the time that the risks were too high and that I enjoyed playing basketball, but being out for like 8 weeks was really, 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 really crap. But now I feel like I've forgotten the feeling of that immediate pain, and I feel like I should get back into it.
Yeah, the risk, that's, I cannot lie, this is in my head every single practice, every single game. Not really while I play, but just before, when I drive to training or I drive to the game, I'm like, what if I just land on someone's foot, snap my ACL, whatever. And it's just, I don't want to have to deal with like needing help getting upstairs and down, and the kids carry all like it's the logistics are so messed up. But at the same time, I don't, the more you train, the more fit you get, the more you
Totally.
feel like
Yeah.
you actually. I feel it pretty resilient now. I do a lot of strength training and mobility, and
And you
I
build up
feel
all
like
of the supporting muscles around the
yes,
things. Like that
yeah,
was probably the biggest problem with what the route that I went was like no basketball and then just basketball. And like, I didn't like train up to that point and build up those muscles that got used to
yeah,
jumping in that way and got used to like pivoting and like launching quickly and all of those things. Yeah, I think obviously the more you do it, the more you build up all of the muscles around those things to take some of that load.
yeah. It's amazing the amount of confidence I feel now. Like if I fall really awkwardly, my body's actually really tuned to say, "Cool, I was prepared for this. Like, let's keep going." But yeah, if you completely untrained and like you have nothing to support your spine because you have no core, and like you get pushed and I tweak my like every that's how you get injured all the time when you get old, because you don't do
Mm.
much and you sit on the chair, and then you lift something and you pull a little muscle because the joint insertion is really weak. So yeah, that's nice.
Awesome.
Enough basketball, Simon.
But yeah, back on the Laracon people, they're just like they're making PHP seem cool again. Like I never thought this would be a thing, but like they just make PHP and Laravel itself seem just yeah so
It
cool
is.
and
It is. PHP is cool and is simple, and Laravel is a great ecosystem. It's so, like every 6 months for the last 5 years, I've learned it, and I've done the Jeffrey Way courses on Laracast, and I was like, I'm gonna build something, and then life, there's always you just get pulled into whatever work and family drives you towards. And now I'm like, if I do stuff now, everyone will assume, oh yeah, that because Laravel just raised a bunch of $1 million in Series A, and so now everyone wants to do the Laravel thing, and I'm like, hey, I was actually interested before, and I've got receipts if you need.
but yeah, it's a very interesting thing that Laravel has raised a Series A and got a bunch of VC money, a lot of VC money, to it sounds like build basically like Vercel uh for Laravel, which is awesome because there's
Yeah,
like
so I think they have much more ambitious over. arching ideas. Really, this money is used to. They grew the team to like 30 plus people, and Taylor, well, the creator said like for the longest of time there were like 5, 6, and before that there were 2, and before that there was just Taylor for a while as well. And so this thing that they announced that you mentioned, yeah, they've announced the Laravel Cloud basically, which is the like the new standards of deploying stuff. As a developer, you expect to just push to a repo and deploy previews and all the stuff. So it kind of brings that niceness of like changing some code, pushing, and then you can see the deploy preview and merge and whatever. They bring this to the table, which is obviously Laravel has like a database and all that stuff. So it's a little bit more complex than just static file on a CDN. But then I literally, I'm speaking at Laracon and I have no idea what this thing is about, but at Laracon US, Taylor said, this is the big announcement. We have another big announcement in Australia in November, so stay tuned. So I think they didn't deploy 57 million to build that cloud platform. It's just, hey, let's build a team, and then let's actually build all the things we always dreamt of. But as a small bootstrap company, you can't necessarily have like the reach and the talent level and the team to build stuff that they want to do.
Totally.
I'm
And yeah, I think
specifically excited that they push towards design. Like David Hill is a really, really good designers, and I think that it's just design is at the the base of everything. It makes everything better when done right. And I think it's just gonna appeal to so much more people because, like you alluded to, there's that JavaScript suffered this for a while as well, that it was a toy language and you shouldn't use this. And PHP has that really bad reputation because 10 years ago, people would just assemble stuff really, really crappily, and all the code examples on a Stack Overflow were like, you look at them, it's like, no, this is actually not how you should do things. But it's evolved so much, and it's such a powerful and fast language. It's got types and all the stuff that people say it hasn't. But good design and the good onboarding stuff like makes people say, oh wow, actually it's pretty nice in here.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, I feel like I don't know if this is just like grass is greener on the other side type thing and being on the outside of the community, but it seems like the PHP and especially Laravel community has a much more healthy attitude towards like charging for things. Like I feel like the projects that are built, like people build something on top of Laravel and it's like a paid thing that you can purchase, a paid solution. And there seems to be this culture of like, you know, people that are using PHP and Laravel are using it to build real things that make money or to like, you know, work in an agency or whatever that's building real things. And so like that cost is just offset by what they're able to accomplish using that tool. And I feel like it's really nice that it seems like a lot of it is open source, but there is this like paying for the nicely packaged version, which I think there's quite a lot of resistance in the JS ecosystem, I find, to like pay for anything. Everything should be open source and everything should be free, and everything anything that is open source shouldn't make any money and shouldn't have a business around it to support it, and should somehow just magically fund the people that are working on it. Yeah, I don't know if it's just from being on the outside, but it seems like the PHP and especially Laravel folks have a healthier relationship with paying for the things that provide you value.
Yep, I think you touch on a very touchy and also real subject. There is that, like, I don't spend a lot of time in Laravel circles, but enough to see, like, there's really the main focus, and what people are passionate about is really building products and like delighting users, not just with like one metric like the fastest loading SSR, CSR, ISR, just like the whole product, the experience, the emails sent to them and the onboarding flow. And like if you talk to people in Laravel, that's what they nerd out on. They're like, how can we make this product better, and the user feel like they don't have to create an account before they can buy, because we have like a guest session, and then like all these things that make a real product. And the reason they're able to do this is because there is much less churn about reinventing the wheel and piecing different things for ORM and all this stuff. Like they've built stuff of course it's maintained and improved, but the stack is much more stable. And so like, okay, we've solved this. We don't need to, and to a degree, I think that's why the Tailwind CSS adoption was so straightforward. They were like, Tailwind makes us productive. We can forget about discussions how we should use what methodology we start. We just use Tailwind. It works great, and we can move on and build a product. And anything Laravel related, Tailwind is kind of like it's there. And I think now Tailwind actually has broadened to Next.js and also Rails, and like it's almost everywhere. But in Laravel, it was much earlier, to the point where when I do a Tailwind CSS talk at Laracon, I'm like, everyone's already convinced. Like I'm trying to tell them it's a good idea, but they know.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say with this is because of this mindset of building product rather than inventing let's build the best hammer and screwdriver and stuff so we can build products. They actually think of the product. Then it becomes much more okay to charge and make money because you're building a real product, and products cost money. You go to the shops, you spend money to get a product. And it's not Laravel, I think PHP in general. Back in the days, 10 years ago, I was doing templates on Theme Forest, like HTML templates. But then they had a sister site, Envato had a sister site called Code Canyon, which is like plugins and whatever bits of code that embellish like enhance a website or an app. And they were all PHP plugins, all of them. And I was like, I kind of know JavaScript, but there's no one's making money doing JavaScript plugins. Just like you said, someone will try to do a really, like Dave DeSandro, the really fancy carousel swipe stuff or masonry thing and charge a bit of money and have a really good logo, and it's an amazing product, but it's still really hard to get people to actually buy it without calling you a shill or whatever. Yeah. And then in PHP world, like you're like, oh, I need a comments thing. Oh, just buy this plugin. Or I need like a carousel. Just buy this. And I bought so many of these plugins, and I was like, yeah, this is a service. I'm paying you money. You give me that functionality. And so, yeah, it's much more healthy in terms of like charging money for things.
Yeah.
That's a good observation.
So, in order to keep this short, I'd love to keep chatting with you and just going on, and it's always so easy chatting to you, but I feel like we do need to keep it fairly contained. So, do you have a sick pick for me this week, Simon?
I do. My sick pick is a guy called Ben Patrick. I think that's his name. He is a basketball player as well, but he happened to have completely blasted his knees, at least one of the knees and maybe the other. And then he got told, you'll never be able to bend your knees completely. You can walk, but forget about your sport. Like this injury is really bad. Your career is gone. And he was like, nah, stuff that. I'm gonna try to work out ways. And he came up with really elaborate ways to bulletproof your knees and hips and ankles and all that stuff. And he goes by the handle of knees over toes guy, because his whole thing is, when you do squats and lots of training, people say never let your knee go over your toes because then it puts tension on the ligaments and stuff. And Ben was like, yeah, that's cool because that's where you get injured. But if you never expose yourself to that position, whenever that happens, if you're running and you plant your foot and your knees goes there, that's when it snaps. And so he was like, through a series of healthy exposure to that position, you can actually really prepare for when the impact happens. And he came up with a whole approach. If you search knees over toes, you will find him. And a lot of chiros and physios and stuff have done reviews, and they were like, this is legit. Like he's not just making stuff up. And that guy who said he would never walk again, he can contort his legs, like do the splits, sit, like he can do a dunk and then land on his, like almost land on his knees and fall backwards on his back. And he shows like, I'm indestructible. And he built himself like this. And everyone who tries at our age or at my age says, oh my God, it's amazing how quickly I gain trust in my knees and flexibility. And so I've been doing this for a few weeks before the season started. And I genuinely think I would not have been able to play without getting injured to this point without this. And now I feel like my legs, they're sore because of the workload, but I don't feel that something's gonna snap, even if at my age that's something in my head the whole time.
Totally. Yeah, when I did roll my ankle with the basketball injury, I was running before that, as in like running for exercise, and then I just like stopped, and like after the foot had healed, it just felt like uh so unstable, and like I just didn't have like enough trust in it to get back into running, and so I started doing a bunch of different exercise. Um, but yeah, recently went back to physio and started like actually building up the muscle in my ankle, and then all of the supporting muscles there, all up like calf uh, and everything, and have recently started running again because it's like yeah, like my foot feels supported and feels like uh, yeah, like it can handle running. And at the point, even after like I had recovered from that injury, I was just like, all right, I'm done with running for my life. I'm just too old.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing how much like, yeah, focusing on these different supporting muscles and building up overall strength around a particular area can make such a difference. Um, yeah, you're never
Yeah,
too old.
it's so easy to just convince yourself, well, I guess that's what happens with age, and I had a good run. Let's let's take the shoes off and like watch the kids do their career or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think having like kids was a big part of it. Like my health went way downhill after having kids, and it just felt like, yeah, like it's done. And only recently both me and my wife have like picked back up the exercise and the fitness level, and now we're both, I think, definitely fitter than we were before either of our kids were born. And yeah, it's crazy how, yeah, how much of a mental thing it is that you feel like, well, it's just, you know, my
Yeah.
body isn't capable of doing that stuff anymore because I'm old. And then you know, you put in some work and work on building up strength in different parts, and my core was like a massive part of that. Like you were saying before, a lot of people have very, very terrible core strength, and my core has always been terrible, and that's something that I really focused on with physio, to get,
Yeah.
like, again, like you don't think your like your stomach muscles, your abs are going to help with running, but because they're
Mm.
taking some of the load from the next bit and the
You
next
think
bit
what
and the
they're
next.
wrapping around, yeah, what they're here
Yeah.
for to support, just your
Totally.
spine, no big deal.
just just that minorly important part of
Yeah.
the entire, you know, core of
Yeah.
your body.
I
Um,
just I just got one more thing to say on the topic. I promise it's quick. The really cool thing about this knees over toes thing is you can do it. You don't need any equipment. You can do it in your lounge room, whatever, and you can like he does it. His mom does it. Like you can do it even if you're 70 years. Like it's there's levels of like you start really easy and then you increase the position that kind of pushes you forward, but you even if you completely if someone's watching and you're in your 50s and you're like slouch on the computer because you're a developer and you feel completely unfit, you can still start and have incredible gains. It's mostly for the lower body because it's like his goal was to play basketball, but you like it's amazing if your lower body feels good. You get up and your legs feel strong and you're like, I'm gonna go for, you feel like going to do stuff because your legs need almost like that training once they get stronger. So you can trick yourself into getting in shape by starting with this, and then the pain that you have in your knees and hips goes away, and then you start having more ambition. So I really encourage you to check it out, no matter what age, sports level you are. It's really cool.
awesome. I will. We should
What
yeah,
is your sick peak?
we should do a fitness episode at some point and talk about the things that we both do and have a super cringy episode that maybe loses us half our audience.
I'd love to. I have
Yeah.
a master's degree in sports science that my former I'm a fraud in development. My real formal training is in sports science, so
Right.
I'd love to learn
Yeah,
about
that would
this.
be super interesting. We should definitely do that. My sick pick is just like generally doing stuff yourself at at your house if you have a house that you can do stuff. We recently graveled our driveway, and so we've got two cars, and there's always this juggle because like one car is kind of like the family car that has the kid seats and everything in it, and then the other car is like a second car, and so there's always this juggle between like moving one car out because our driveway is just one straight driveway, and so we're
Mhm.
always like shifting cars, and it's just like it's been a problem for like 6 years, and we just haven't actually solved it. And so I decided, you know what, we've got this chunk of space that is usually like our dumping ground for um, like if we get mulch delivered or we get something for some project around the house, there's just like a space where we can just
Pile
have
of stuff.
piles. And so I was like, these, all right, we're finally getting low on one of the piles, and so we're just gonna dump a whole bunch of gravel here and create a parking spot, so that it's out of the way and either car can leave without needing the other one to move. um, and then we got a bunch of gravel delivered, and oh my god, was I appreciative of my core when I realized how heavy it is, like just raking out gravel over like it's not even a huge like space, but oh my
Just
god,
moving it.
it
Yeah.
yeah, doing that movement over and over again. And I was doing like shoveling gravel into a wheelbarrow and moving it a bit further away. And oh man, I was very appreciative of all of those core strengthening, all those Pilates videos that we've done recently. Um, but yes, we finally like got it. We like raked it all out. It looked beautiful, and then we went and parked the car on it, and it just got immediately bugged because the gravel was too loose and the
So
car
it
is
kind
too
of
heavy. So it just sank straight into it. So after some very strategic Fast and Furious 3 Tokyo Drift techniques to get back out of the of that parking spot.
oh, you got
Uh,
stuck in there.
yeah, when I finally got the car back out, I realized, all right, we probably need to do a little bit better than
Stomp
this.
on
So
it a bit.
yeah, we're hiring like a compactor thing, which is like a big slab of heavy like metal that just bangs up and down over and over again, and we're gonna bang out the whole driveway and this parking spot and try and push down the gravel as much as possible. And then apparently you wet it, and then it kind of like settles in place a little bit more and can maybe
Okay.
hold the car. So maybe, well, yeah, at the start of this story, I was thinking my sick pick was do stuff yourself and do these fun projects. But now, as I'm talking through it, I'm thinking maybe avoid doing these and pay professionals to do these jobs.
The
But
good old buy versus build dilemma.
yeah, I mean, if Ryobi doesn't have a solution for it, then you need to pay someone else to do it.
I was gonna ask you if the compactor was a Ryobi yellow electric 36-volt battery powered.
If they have one, we'll buy it for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, it's just like it just feels fun and rewarding doing things yourself with your hands and having
Yes.
projects small projects that are completable in not an ongoing amount of time is very satisfying and fun. So
You
get out
all
there, do some stuff.
Yeah, you always learn new skills, and there's studies that show that mental health, like doing physical activity with tangible stuff in this digital field world where we're on screens and touch keyboard and stuff, like doing stuff with materials is actually really beneficial for your mental health. And yes, every now and then when I have a break, and even if it's not too physical, if I build something for like the chicken wire fence, I'm like instantly feeling, oh, this is what life is meant to be like. Just you build stuff and then you have a final result and it's tangible and it's not, you don't have to push to GitHub and do a PR and get someone to say yes, merge looks good to me. LGT, let's get it merged. I
Totally.
have I had a fun thought when you explained the car bogging down. I don't know if you've tried snowboarding to build a jump, because you watch kids that just put piles of snow until it has the shape of a little kick, and they're like, "Yeah, it's ready. Let's send it." And then, yep, the first one
Straight
going
through.
goes straight through. And what you're supposed to do is like make blocks and then just whack them with the snowboard and the shovel and stomp stomp on it and do it like 10 times until it's compact enough that it supports the load that you have.
Yeah.
But I can imagine you just have your pile of gravel and they just instantly find the little gap and go.
Yeah. But yeah, it is super satisfying. Like you run into a problem and then yeah, like I found I was, applying my programming logic kind of diagnosis and
Oh yeah,
debugging
problem solved.
attitudes to this problem. Like here's a little part that's broken. All right, let's tweak this and now this bit's fixed and then yeah, it's very satisfying. We actually went to a like an old-timey like uh homestead thing over the weekend with the kids where it was just basically like a market but at this place that is has like a blacksmith thing and like yeah, just lots of old things. And
Yeah.
this blacksmith room, I went in there and I was just like, this is awesome. I want to do blacksmithing. This is fantastic. They're just like putting big things of metal in like big hot coals, and then they're just bashing them with bigger pieces of metal. And like as soon as I walked out, I went up to my wife and I'm like, can we buy an anvil? Is that something we can do? She's like, no. I was like, they're only $1,200, and she's like, absolutely not. That is not something we can do. So yes, building things
It's
is
highly
fun.
appealing, yeah.
Yeah.
In this digital, us just looking at computers all day, like anything with your hands and like a bit of power and like grit, it's like,
Yeah.
please, can I do this?
Totally.
And everyone that does this is like, dude, I would love to be sitting at a computer and
Yeah, that's right.
people working on a roof in the sun in Australia doing tiles. And
Yeah, you get to just sit in an air-conditioned room that's nice and quiet and type on a keyboard instead of standing in front of this massive fire on a 40-degree day, banging big bits of iron, for sure.
yeah, it's all relative.
And that is our episode for this week. Thank you so much for joining me, Simon. Thank you for joining us in the audience. And yeah, we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for having me back. See you soon.